I call upon Zenita Wickam Hurley, who is Chief Counsel for Civil Rights and Legislative Affairs at the Office of the Attorney General of Maryland. Good morning, Ms. Hurley, and welcome.
Good morning. Chief Judge Barbera, may it please the Court, my name is Zenita Wickam Hurley, and I have been a member of the Maryland Bar since 2000. It is my honor and privilege to appear before you today and move the admission of these candidates to the Maryland Bar. With the Court's permission, I respectfully introduce the distinguished members of this Court to the new admittees and their guests. Looking from left to right are the Honorable Robert N. McDonald, Baltimore County, the Honorable Clayton Green, Jr., Anne Arundel County, the Honorable Glenn T. Harrell, Jr., Prince George's County, Chief Judge Mary Ellen Barbera, Montgomery County, the Honorable Lynn A. Battaglia, Howard County, the Honorable Sally D. Atkins, Wicomico County, and the Honorable Shirley M. Watts, Baltimore City. I am delighted to have the opportunity to share in the joy of this day and offer a few brief remarks. It is a bit surreal, though, to acknowledge that it's been 15 years since I sat where you sit today. I still feel very much like a new lawyer who's still finding her way, not one who's seasoned enough to be able to tell you the type of lawyer that you should be or how you should practice. What I can do is share with you a few of my own experiences, what I've learned these past 15 years, and what has helped me get to where I am today. I attribute much of my success to the relationships that I've built over the years. Not that I'm the smartest of my peers or the most accomplished or dedicated, committed, hardworking. Certainly not to the law school that I attended, though I've worked hard and am very proud of all of those things. The reality, though, is that the world is filled with smart and hardworking people. When I work for someone or with someone, my goal is to leave them not thinking that I did a great job. My goal is to leave them thinking that they really enjoy working with me and that they want to work with me again, which of course involves doing a great job, but also involves so much more. One of my favorite quotes on this point is from Maya Angelou, who says, "People will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel." And I found this to be even more impactful the more senior and accomplished a person becomes in their career. For example, shortly after I graduated law school, I attended a large event where President Bill Clinton spoke. I was introduced to him very briefly by a colleague early on in the event. A few hours later, a friend begged me to go back up to him and ask for a picture. Once I got up the nerve, I walked up to him and I started to reintroduce myself. But before I could finish, he cut me off and said, "Yeah, I remember you." It doesn't matter if that was true or not, but it felt so great that he remembered me. And to this day, I really still think of President Clinton as one of the most charming people I've ever met. And of course, I don't remember a word he said that night when he gave his remarks, but I remembered that he remembered me, and it made me feel good. As I have considered different job opportunities over the years, I've also been mindful to try to surround myself with people that are smarter than me. The point at which I look around at any job and deem myself to be the most knowledgeable person on the team, that's when I know it's time to move on. I once read an interview of a successful female CEO, and she put it this way: "If your job doesn't regularly scare the crap out of you, you're in the wrong job." That advice has always really stuck with me, and while it's sometimes been very tempting to coast along just when I've mastered the skills for a certain job, I've also discovered that it was on those occasions when I went out on a limb and agreed to take on a new responsibility or a new role or subject matter, that's when I got the greatest rewards, whether it was a promotion, a raise, an award, or simply this great sense of professional and personal accomplishment. I've also found that some of the most exciting and rewarding work can happen in some of the most seemingly dullest of places. Early on in my career, I was eagerly searching for public sector civil rights work. A friend of the family said they'd float my resume at the state level, and of course I agreed, and the first call I received was from principal counsel to the Maryland Department of Transportation. Now, how many of you went to law school to work in transportation? All right, okay. You were kind of like me there. I wrote it off almost immediately, and in fact, the only reason I actually went to the interview is I said, well, you know what, I need to practice for when that job comes along that I actually am interested in. Of course, it was during that same interview that I learned that transportation was actually one of the first industries where government sought to redress discrimination against minority and women-owned businesses, and that the Maryland Department of Transportation actually advised the state's Office of Minority Business. Long story short, I ended up taking that job, 7 years later, I ended up getting the experience that ultimately led me back to the Attorney General's office and to the position I have today. So needless to say, I don't write things off so quickly anymore. Finally, I will share one of my more recent revelations, and that is that I may always have moments in my career where I have to fake it till I make it. And that's okay. Last month, Attorney General Brian Frosh, a man I work for today, very honored and I have a lot of respect for, actually spoke at the University of Baltimore's law school commencement ceremony. Any UB grads here? Well, it's okay to get excited. It's an important day. In his remarks, though, Attorney General Frosh admitted that even after nearly 30 years in the General Assembly, both as a delegate and a senator, he would still sometimes wonder when are the grown-ups are going to show up and take charge. He said, even though my colleagues and I look like authority figures, we're actually still trying to figure things out. We don't have all the answers. And so that's two great things for me. One, I'm not the only one. But also, it reinforced for me the notion that learning never stops. And what a great time it is to be a lawyer trying to figure things out. At our core, I really think that's what we as lawyers are. We're problem solvers. And some of the most critical and nagging problems of our society are now at a boiling point, whether it's the continued lack of equal access to education, employment, or health care, or the growing lack of trust between law enforcement and communities of color. Because of advances in technology, we can now review and dissect our life experiences as they occur, with many more people across a diverse, broad spectrum of ages, races, geography, educational and economic backgrounds joining in the debate. The most impactful and far-reaching solutions to these problems will require your help, whether that's advocacy, litigation, legislation, all the skills you've learned in law school. They may also demand other skills of you, like empathy, kindness, and humility. But whether that happens really depends on you. Either way, I welcome you to the conversation. Congratulations and good luck to each of you. Now, with the permission of the court, I move for the admission to the bar of Maryland the candidates seated here before you. I request, in accordance with your pre-assigned numerical order, starting with the candidate here in front of me, that the candidates please stand individually, announce your full name, and then resume your seat.